Hi everyone, it's Mrs. Ligon. We're going to continue our work with functions on the worksheet called Fun with Functions. So the subs should hand this out to you. Pause the video if you need to. So in this activity, it asks you to roll a number cube or a dice to get all of these numbers. Unfortunately, since I'm not here, we couldn't do that. So I took the liberty of rolling a dice on my own so we could fill in the numbers. So for the first pair, I got 3, 2. The second pair was 6, 3. The third pair was 1, 2. Then 2, 5. 1, 2. 1, 2 again. 2, 3. 1, 4. 3, 6. And 4, 4. So I'm going to give you a minute to copy those down if you need to pause the video. On the next one, I got 4 for my first number, and I used the same numbers for graphs 2 and 3. Then I got 6, 4, 2, 1, 1. 1 was a popular number today. 3, 2, 2, and 1. I used the same number for graphs 2 and 3 just to save time. And like I said, pause the video if you need a second to copy these down. Remember, you can access this video on your own on Mrs. Ligon Teaches Math on YouTube if you need to get these numbers. Once you have the set of points, we're going to skip the graphing part and we're just going to talk about the sets of points and whether or not they're functions. So let's look first if graph 1 is a function. So on graph 1, we have to look at the x values and see if they repeat. I'm seeing that 3 repeats, 1 repeats, and 2 repeats as x values. And when they repeat, they have different y values, which is really that indicator that this is not a function. You can only have one y value for each x value. So when we say that graph 1 is not a function, it's because the x values repeat. So looking at graph 2, let's look at our x values. Every x value is different. So graph 2 is a function. It doesn't matter what the y values are as long as all of our x values are different. Now let's look at graph 3 to see if that's a function. I have the x value 4 repeating. So right away, without looking at the rest of the numbers, I know that this is not a function. As soon as that 4 repeated with different y values, I knew that it had to not be a function. Now let's look at the next question on the sheet. What ordered pairs would you have to remove from graph 1 in order to make it a function? So let's look for all the spots where our x values repeated and had different y values. So we have the 3 repeating, the 2 repeating, and this case of the 1 repeating. Once we remove all 3 of those, our graph would still be a function. I do want you to notice something interesting in this, though, and that's that the point 1, 2 repeats several times. If the same point repeats over and over again, that doesn't make a difference as to whether or not a graph is a function. Okay, let's look at the next questions, 5 and 6. These are a review of what we talked about yesterday. So what is the result of performing a vertical line test on a graph of a function? If it's a function, the vertical line test only goes through one point. That's the definition of passing the vertical line test and being a function. So the result of performing a vertical line test on a graph that is not a function is that it will go through more than one point. When it goes through more than one point, it's failing the vertical line test, and that means that the graph is not a function. For the next section, we're going to have to go back up and look at graph 2 again. When we're evaluating for a function, if we see something like f of 3, that means that in the function, when the x value is 3, what does y equal? So in graph 2, when x equals 3, y equals 4. So 4 is going to be our answer. I'm going to give you a minute to go through and answer the rest of these. Evaluate for the rest of these x values. For problem 8, Now we're looking at the y values. So when graph 3 has a y value of 5, we want to know what the x value is. So in this case, it's 1. When the y value is 5, the x value is 1. And I'm going to give you a minute again to figure out the rest of these problems. Okay, great. Now the substitute is going to hand out another worksheet to you. On this worksheet, we're going to again practice identifying whether something is or is not a function. So once you have this worksheet in front of you, you'll work on this for the rest of class. Remember, it counts as a quiz grade as long as you've tried every single problem and identified it as a function or not a function. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good day.